But today's topic is going to be Madonna. So why have we chosen Madonna, John?
We share the view, probably shared by millions of people around the world, that Madonna is a game changer. It continues to be a game changer in her world of music, choreography, fashion, video. The whole package around what she's delivered over a number of decades has been game-changing. She set the tone for many other people. Often in that world, you can tell the game changers because they're the individuals that everyone else tries to copy. They influence folk in that particular way. So that's why we wanted to talk about her on this session.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, her whole career has been defined by those significant changes. For me, I noticed it first when she came out with Vogue, because the pre-Vogue era was relatively similar. It was solid pop music. It was stuff that teenagers really loved, and almost at the younger end of teenagers as well. There was definitely a teenage vibe about her when she first came out. And then Vogue put a stake in the sand, as if to say, I've grown up now in terms of her career. And it was like, this is me, this is what I'm doing, and it's a new statement I'm making. And it pointed the way towards a style of music that appealed to an older age group. Still had her young fans, but she was definitely moving into a different space. And ultimately, of course, throughout the decades, she's grown with her audience in terms of age, but also her music seems to appeal to a much broader group of people now, because she's done so many different things. You don't necessarily have to like the whole catalogue to like Madonna, but you can probably pick out an era that you actually like. So she's got a very broad fan base now, from following her passions, if you like, to come up with new ideas.
Yes, yeah. A quick quote from Madonna, Simon, that you'll like, given what you've just said. She said, "I stand for freedom of expression, doing what you believe in and going after your dreams." Now, that's virtually the definition of a game changer. But before you're all getting carried away out there saying, I want to be a game changer, I want to be a game changer, it can be a torment as well. We know that. We know that people can feel tormented by their creative talent. You've only got to watch the movie Love and Mercy, which is about the life of Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys, to know that creativity can be tormenting. So it's not always an easy place to be when you see stuff that makes you feel very different, potentially very alienated from the world. A little bit, I think, like your director of finance that you were talking about earlier, Simon, to the point where, and we've seen this in organizations, there's a very practical point here. We've seen how people can hide their creative talents in order to fit in with the world. Madonna clearly hasn't done that, but in order to fit in with the world, and organizations lose out. They don't recognize that talent. They don't exploit it in positive ways, sadly.
I agree. I noticed it further down in that organization I was working as well. So there was someone that when you met her and you started talking to her, there was an immediate energy about her, and you just felt like you were in the presence of somebody who was a real enthusiast for what they were doing, really excited about what they were doing. Her boss loved her, thought she was great. No matter what he threw at her, she found a way of getting it done, and just real good sort of creative problem solver, if you like. But outside of that, as her role emerged and she got spotted as somebody with talent to come through the organization, she was put into roles which effectively nullified all of that creativity. And she was asked to monitor spreadsheets. She was asked to performance manage individuals. She was asked to think carefully about, the detailed plans that were being worked up around her, and sort of become a manager. And it's nothing to do with what she loved to do, which was to think outside the box. And she was definitely underutilized in that organization, subsequently left and got herself into a much more creative organization where actually she thrived, because there was a desire to utilize that creativity rather than suppress it under a veil of management.
Yeah, there's a message here, isn't there, for our listeners who influence these things in the workplace. Think about how you recognize your game-changing talent and how you make the most of them. Because often, as these stories suggest, they can be lost to the world of work.
Now, John, we were chatting earlier about this when we were sort of thinking about what we might want to discuss with regard to Madonna, and you had another great quote, didn't you?
I did. I suppose it's a quote that highlights the courage of being a game changer, that we can easily, here you see a woman in Madonna who seems supreme supremely talented, confident, whatever. But she's saying, here's the quote: if your joy is derived from what society thinks of you, you're always going to be disappointed. She's hinting at the courage in there to be different, but driven by that tension that says, if you just go through life conforming, trying to please other folk, you're going to be disappointed anyway. So why not push the boundaries and express yourself?
Yeah. And it's so true, isn't it? It doesn't really matter what you do. There will always be a critic somewhere.
Yes.
So whether you take the safe route or the more dangerous route, that's what she's advocating.
That's a lovely way of putting it.
It reminds me, do you remember when there was a small period in her life where she lived in the UK? And
Yes.
I think she was married at the time to Guy Ritchie, the producer. And to the surprise of everybody in our society, if you like, she decided to go and write a children's book. And, and that got published, and she was all of a sudden seen dressed in very twee English ladylike clothes, if you like, as opposed to the rock and roll clothes that we'd been used to seeing her in. And on one level, you sort of think, well, was she just trying to fit in? But there's something about that activity that to me says, I'm not going to be defined by anyone. This is an interest I had. It's an idea I had. Wouldn't it be great to write a kid's book? I'm going to do it. So I think there is an extra element in here, which is something about that relationship between game changer, the great idea, and strategist, mapping that out and seeing exactly what that looks like, and then orchestrating the activity or planning the activity in a way that gets it done. And I wonder whether she's got if we were looking elsewhere in the GC index for what other energies she's got, I wonder whether there's a bit of strategist in there as well.
Yes. So at the heart of it is captured by her quote, I stand for freedom of expression. We know that that's there, but it's how she's structured that expression over the course of her career. I think that's what you're describing, isn't it?